Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's JT here with another great episode of JT Invests in You. And we've got a longtime guest, Alexander Trefonas, on the show. He is the founder of Algodex and the CTO of Algo Capital. So, without further ado, let's bring on Alex to the show. How's it going, Alex?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely terrific. I appreciate you coming back on the show.
Yeah, anytime. Love
Yeah.
coming on.
So for those that don't know, Alex has actually probably been the most frequented guest on the show at this point, with coming in with the three-peat here.
Wow. Didn't realize that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it's exciting time since the last time we spoke. I mean, a lot has changed with Algodex. We could start off with a brief introduction, but I'm sure those that have watched the show have already know who you are, probably already seen the previous interviews. So if you haven't, just go check those out, and we're just going to jump right into what's new with Algodex. So let's start off with that. You've got your token launch coming up. You've got the Algodx Mailbox that just came out. That you're opening up it to U.S. residents, at least for a couple tokens. So let's I'll let you go off from there.
Yeah, so basically everything you said. Since the last time we talked, we've launched on mainnet, at least outside the US. So that's been running for some time. There have been some issues, just, being very kind of honest and blunt. There's not been a lot of liquidity,
Yeah.
but I think that's just getting past this issue, that the nature of Algodex is that it's a limit order exchange, and we really need market makers on it. This is something I've been learning as well. So either people need to sit on Algodex all day, keeping tight spreads on the order book, but that's not really realistic. So what we are doing is we've been working on market making bots, so that anybody can plug a bot into Algodex and it will automatically place orders, sell orders and buy orders, looking at the prices of other algo indexes out there, so that the bot will automatically keep a very nice order book, so that when someone else who just might be a retail trader or something comes in, they can buy or sell things at fair prices. And ultimately it'll be really cool because once there's a lot of liquidity on Algodex, the bots can place a ton of liquidity right at the spot price. So if someone wants to come in to place large orders, they can actually get better deals on Algodex than on the AMMs, because when you have limit orders, it allows a lot more nuanced pricing, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's one of my most sought after projects. It just is unfortunate it's still not open to U.S.
Yeah.
residents. But as you said, it's the only order book exchange currently on mainnet for Algorand, and there are a lot of benefits that come with an order book exchange. However, as you stated before, the lack of liquidity does make it a little bit difficult to use. You mentioned the automatic market making bots and what have you. How far along are those bots? Like,
So they progressed quite a lot. There's not an exact release date. We're also working on an SDK that's going to be open source, so anybody can make their own bots if they want to. DFly also said that they'll integrate us once we have the SDK released. That's coming along great. That'll hopefully be released in the coming weeks. We have a couple people working full time on both the bot and the SDK. So they're making lots of progress. As in terms of opening to the US, we are planning on opening trading for some assets, such as all the stable coins and Go BTC and Go ETH. So basically wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped Ethereum. We're also open to listing other assets, but we will need a legal opinion from any asset creators stating that their assets not security in the U.S. This has really been kind of the holdup with opening in the U.S. because, as you're probably aware, I live in the U.S. and other people on the team live in Canada. These are both countries that care quite a lot about securities laws, and they actually regulate stuff. So there's a lot of personal risk there. So just to stay compliant too, of course, we can't just pretend the laws don't exist. So that's basically what we're doing. So we're going to do a limited opening of trading in the U.S. And then also allow other tokens to be listed as they present us legal opinions. And that's kind of how it has to be now. Unfortunately, we would have just loved to open it, but
Yep.
there's you know.
Now, how soon along is it until the U.S. traders will be able to at least trade, Go BTC and Go ETH and
So
stables?
we're actually targeting this week for that.
Okay.
There's just a few technical things remaining, so hopefully they'll get deployed this week. But it should be very soon. So hopefully this week, but it's not 100% thing. There's a lot going on too with like preparing for the token launch and so on.
Yeah, and let's jump into that. The token launch is coming up, I believe, on what, May 31st?
Yeah. So right. So we basically are doing it on May 31st, even though the market conditions are not great. It's just something that has to be done
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people waiting for it. I've been waiting for it for about a year since I started the project. So it's basically going to be the rewards and governance token for Algodex, and the token symbol is ALGX. Uh, the token has already been pre-created just so we could get it verified, but nobody has received the token yet. It's just sitting in the creator wallet. But on the TGE date, some of our pre-buyers will receive the token, and then soon after that, we're going to be sending it out to the airdrop recipients. So there's been a lot of people using the platform on testnet and mainnet, providing liquidity as much as they can, and then those people will be entitled to airdrops. And we've had some other airdrop competitions and stuff like that. So
That's
that's
awesome. And what dexes will the token first be available on? Like, do you have a plan to supply liquidity to any particular dexes or all of the
yeah.
dexes?
So we're going to create trading pairs between the Algodex token and Algo on Tinyman and Pact. So as well as Algodex. So
Yeah.
um, that's the basic plan. We're also going to be launching on a centralized exchange, most likely on the 31st. We don't want to make an official announcement yet, like who it
Ah,
is and so on, but that's in the works too.
fair enough. Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions because
Yeah,
I saw in one of your recent posts, upcoming things, the ALGX token launch, open source trading SDK, and at the bottom of the list was possible CEX listing,
yeah,
CEX centralized exchange listings,
yeah.
and a new big project to be unveiled. So I guess I'll have to ask you about that later on. But let's move into the Algodx Mailbox. What is it, and how does it work?
So Algodx Mailbox is basically it's a whole separate decentralized app, and the whole purpose of it is to get around the problem. It's really two problems. Like, let's say you want to send out a bunch of tokens, any kind of token you want, to 100 people, and you don't want to have to try to figure out who's opted into it, who's not opted in. If you ask people to opt in, what if they don't actually opt into it? And like, how are you actually going to send out the token to 100 people? Do you have to like write a script to do it? Do you have to learn the whole Algorand SDK and just make a script? Then you have to monitor who actually receives it or not. So it's just a big kind of problem, especially if you're sending the token to people who then in turn will send the token to more people, such as community investor types who kind of fundraise from other subscribers. So we just noticed it's a big problem, and some of our investors are actually asking for something like this too. So that's what it solves. So what it does is you can either upload a CSV list with a list of destination wallet addresses and token amounts, and then send out the tokens, or you can just send it to a single token. If the people who you're sending the tokens to have already opted in, so like let's say 2/3 of them already opted in, it'll directly send them to those people. But for the other 1/3 that are laggards, or they haven't opted in yet for whatever reason, it'll put it actually into a smart contract, and then on their own time they can then click a link, go to Algodx Mailbox, and then redeem the tokens. So that's kind of what it does. It just solves a core problem in Algorand.
Yeah, I could see that being, a big help, at least whether it be for token airdrops or
Yeah.
project launches or even, giveaways. Even Lofty AI has a service. I don't know exactly how they do it, but, there are times where I don't opt into the token that I just bought, and like a week later they'll remind me like, hey, you still haven't opted into this token. There'll be like a little thing there. So I'm sure even something like that could be beneficial for them. Now, you made a post the other day, or at least the Algodex Twitter page made a post the other day about integrating NFTs into the Algodex mailbox, and you've already integrated the Algo name service. Could I ask a question? How would it work if people have the same wallet address and both are in, if the same wallet ID, but for different services? You know what I mean?
Basically, like it does get a little complex. I'll admit, and I've been thinking about the best way to do it. Most likely, in that case, it'll give you an option which one do you want to send to. So there's like really three ways to handle it. So one way is the UI presents an option. Okay, something.algo can go to two different destinations. Which one do you want to pick? The other way is a user unfriendly but easier to code way, which is just says, oh, sorry, this .algo resolves to two different addresses. We can't use this .algo name. That might be like a short-term solution. The third way is just some option inside Algodx Mailbox that says I only want to use NFD, or I only want to use Algo name service. So these are different ways we can do it. This only really matters though for sending. For redeeming, it could just use the first one that works automatically. So the first one that it detects has a balance. So it's really only an issue if you're using Algodx Mailbox to send out stuff. And then again, it's only an issue if the two different .algo names resolve to different wallets. I think most of the time, people who use these services will probably snag the same name for both of them. So
Yeah.
it's probably a rare situation in the first place, but it is something that we have to design around.
For sure, and I could imagine. I haven't really taken a look. I haven't signed up for either service, but I could imagine there have been land grabs already. So
Yeah.
I could certainly see the case where I might have JT invest on with NFTs, but somebody might have snagged that up on Algo name service or vice versa. Really.
Yeah, it's a real problem too, because if that does happen and someone wants to send out tokens to one, but they accidentally send them to the wrong person, you could have like malicious actors like receiving stuff that they shouldn't have.
Yep.
So it's a real problem. I think the whole Algorand ecosystem is going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. Even if it's some sort of some way of a voting system, and one of the projects decides to take
Yeah.
a different.
I mean, like my personal opinion is that instead of just having .algo, it could be like .algo.nfd or like .algo.ans, and then that
Yeah.
would actually fix it.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to actually do that because it just looks messy.
Yeah, no, it does. It does add a little bit of messiness to something
Yeah.
that's designed to kind of clean things up. So I get it. To some degree, it's kind of counterintuitive. So what else is new with the with Algodex? Let's see. I'm trying to look up your recent post. Oh yeah, new big project plans to be unveiled. Any hints at what those could be? I don't know if you want
Yes.
to drop some
So
alpha here.
we are in the preliminary stages of making our own stablecoin platform. So
Okay.
we're planning on making stablecoins for different foreign currencies and being able to originate them, and also, you know, transfer, like, convert between fiat currency and the stablecoins, then also a trading platform for that. So it's a big project we're kind of planning at this time, but we kind of just started on it, so there's not a lot to show yet.
Yeah.
But that's kind of our big plans, and that's all going to be integrated with Algodex, so it'll use Algodex to actually do the trading. And then in addition, we're going to put in aggregator functionality into Algodex, so that when you place a trade on Algodex, it'll pick the best price either between the limit orders or from other Algorand dexes.
Yeah, that's actually an awesome feature. It seems like a lot of different applications are starting to, follow suit to what kind of what DeFly's been doing. They've been
Yeah.
doing fantastic work with their app. I absolutely love their app. Um, but that being said, a fiat on ramp actually that sounds really necessary because there are very few fiat on ramps in the space. I mean, most people still just use Coinbase. I know Parawallet integrated with MoonPay. I'm not sure if that's what you guys will use, but we're very limited on the on ramps, and the on ramps we do have quite exorbitant fees depending on the way you use them.
Yeah. So yeah, we're going to look at different options, um, and then also just figure out the best way to engineer it and so on. So we'll almost definitely partner with an existing on ramp as opposed to building our own. But yeah, we'll have to look at the different options for that.
So I know you can't divulge the information yet, but whatever centralized exchange your token gets listed on, is there any way you could strong arm them into listing more ASAs and being the centralized exchange for ASAs?
Well, that would be nice, but the problem is that most of these centralized exchanges charge a listing fee.
Yeah,
We
yeah, that's true.
need to be able to fundraise and do that. I guess they have a lot of manual setup, um, and and then also what we found is you have to basically hire a market making service who's going to be sitting on the exchange placing orders all the time, stuff like that. So it's kind of expensive for projects that don't already have a lot of funding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's fair. That's fair. So you got the Algodex token at least on the watch list of CoinMarketCap. How did you manage that one already?
So apparently, I mean, to list on CoinMarketCap, it's apparently not that difficult. We can just apply,
Oh,
and
okay.
they'll probably do some vetting, but it's not that hard to list there. Apparently, I haven't done this before, but
Hey,
our experience.
you successfully did it. So
Yeah.
what else is going on in the world of Algodex that I've yet to ask about? I mean, just feel free to inform my audience with everything that you want us to hear about, really.
Well, the team size has expanded some, so we now, counting myself and my wife who work full time on it, we now have 11 full
Yep.
time employees. There's a few part time employees too, but um, you know, just kind of full time employees, we've now expanded to 11, which is really good growth because we see like a really kind of bright future for where this is going, and we just kind of want to build things as fast as possible. And um,
That's awesome though, because when you did start and the first time I had you on your show, I do believe it was just you and your wife that was just like heads down, and then maybe you had like one or two other core members building, but it was a really tight knit and small crew,
yeah,
so it must be an exciting time.
yeah, for sure. And the fundraising has gone exceptionally well, which fortunately we completed before the crypto bear market because I don't really know how you would fundraise that effectively in this market.
Yep.
But we finished that. Um, we have ample funding, for the future. Hopefully, you can weather it out. So everything there is going great. So it's just basically after the token launch, which is a big distraction.
Yep.
Admittedly, we're just going to be, kind of heads down, focused on building stuff.
Yeah, I like the way you put it. I mean, to some degree, it is kind of a big distraction. I mean, your main focus is building, so but the token launch is important, and it is a big spectacle to some degree. Um, I'm curious, are there any plans for Algodex to eventually do any cross-chain swapping and like integrate the use of state proofs as they become available?
That's a great question. We're going to be monitoring that stuff as it becomes more accessible for projects to just tie into. If something works that we don't have to basically make that whole project ourselves just to do just to work with other chains, then yeah, we could plug into it. Um, the fact that we're making a platform for minting coins, though, will probably be wrapping other cryptocurrencies at some point too, and that's a way of bridging by wrapping other cryptos. But that, like I said, though, this project's kind of just starting, so
I mean, effectively, that basically is what most bridges are these days.
yeah,
It's just a way to send your tokens in and get them wrapped and put onto
yeah,
another chain.
exactly, right.
Now, what blockchains are you looking to have wrap tokens for first?
That's a great question. My preference would be to wrap things that aren't already wrapped,
Yep.
because as many people in the Algorand space know, there's already Algo Mint and they're already wrapping Ethereum and Bitcoin. So we probably want to wrap things that aren't wrapped yet. But that's just my take. Other people on the team might want to do differently. First, though, we're going to be focused. We're going to try to focus on stable coins of fiat currencies of like various foreign currencies and stuff.
Yeah, that's a great idea because I mean the space is very much so lacking any other type of stablecoin besides U.S. denominated
Yeah.
stablecoins, and from what I hear, it is actually a little bit harder to do other denominations in stablecoins. I don't know if you could speak a little bit more to that.
What we're hoping to do is basically set up custodial bank accounts that accept other foreign currencies. I think the regulatory aspects are probably going to be the most difficult, though.
Yep. Yep.
But assuming we can, um, find a good plan for that, then it should just work.
So you're planning on essentially having them be a traditional one-to-one backed
Yeah,
stablecoin, not
exactly.
a
Yeah,
decentralized coin.
right.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. All
Yeah, we're
right.
not going to make like algorithmic stable coins or something, because as we all see with uh, with Terra.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the belief that not all decentralized stablecoins are built the same, but
Yeah, that's true.
I certainly do understand that concern. Actually, that could be a good segue. Like, how do you feel about the current market conditions? We have, of course, the UST and Luna fiasco. We've got the overall macro headwinds of conflict and inflation and rate hikes and quantitative tightening and so forth. And we have, at least a lot of us here that watch the show, believe that Algorand should be already a top 10, maybe even a top 5 chain. And of course, that's not going to happen in the bear market. But I would just like to get to know what your thoughts are for this current market, what you're seeing out there, and how you think this ship will turn around.
Well, I think I think that there's kind of macro headwinds that are hitting anything that's like a growth stock, or in the tech space. And I was actually looking at the other day, just like forward price to earnings ratios of like growth stocks versus value stocks, and it just looks like kind of like a big bubble that's kind of like bursting a bit because of the planned interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve. But I mean, my opinion is that's all kind of going to be temporary pain, because I'm very bullish long term on crypto. I think that eventually all sorts of things that don't currently use crypto in the old financial world will eventually switch to it. So it's probably going to be like every other crypto bear market, of which we've had like three or four, where there could be months to a year or two of just kind of downward slash sideways movement. And then, but ultimately though, like if cryptocurrency, ultimately it's really going to depend on whether the technology becomes pervasive or not, and whether everything starts using crypto. Um, that's what's really going to matter in the long run. But short term, I really have no idea. Things
Yeah.
could take more. It really depends, like what Nasdaq does, honestly. Like so, if tech stocks go down 1%, crypto is probably going to go down like 3%, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like they seem highly correlated. There's not much you can really do about that. If I'm pretty bullish on Algorand still, of course. I think if Algorand succeeds a lot, it could still become a top 10 cryptocurrency, even in the bear market. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the price will go
Yep.
wild
Yep.
because it's a bear market, but I don't think Algorand's going anywhere soon. I think it's only going to get better for Algorand.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah,
so,
I mostly agree with that sentiment too, especially your last point. And I've said before that I think it'll take new money coming into the system to actually see a bull run in the entire market. However, which I don't see happening anytime too soon with the macro headwinds, but I could see a scenario where Algorand, even during the bear market, starts eating up market share of other L1s or other chains that aren't as good. And as you said, it doesn't necessarily mean the price will do something wild. It'll just maybe mean in that scenario, Algorand's flat while everything else is going down 20%. So it's still moving up the rungs, but price
yeah,
isn't moving.
exactly.
And I think it's important for a lot of listeners to realize, especially because there's a lot of latecomers that got in 2020, 2021, that this bear market very well, as you said, could last a year or two, and we could not see the market turn around until 2023, 2024, as we've seen in prior bear markets. So, uh,
I mean,
uh,
yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I don't want to scare people away from Algorand or any
for
other.
sure, and I don't want to scare them away either. It's just more of like
It's
a
true. It's true though.
you just have to kind of be realistic with your expectations. I mean, 2020 and 2021, I kind of feel like skewed everyone's expectations because everybody was making money. It seemed like if you invested in anything, you were making money. And those days, that time was an extraordinary time created by conditions that may very well not happen again. So to be expecting the same type of market conditions that we had those years uh, might not be too beneficial. And I just think it's good to be clear-eyed about the about that, at least the next coming months to coming years, especially for anybody that's dabbling with leverage in the system or that might be way over invested or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree.
Oh, I was gonna say hello to the bird again.
Oh yeah, I know he's upstairs, like behind doors and stuff, but he's just so loud that the only
Uh,
way to not hear him, we'd have to like put him outside or something.
oh, it's totally fine. I just
Yeah,
think it's funny.
yeah, yeah. Anytime I have a meeting with anybody, he's either with me or he's in the distance shouting. So
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, so one thing I didn't ask about the Algodex mailbox, it is noted here that the escrow contracts have yet to be audited. Is there a timeline for an audit for those?
Um, so the problem is that audits are very expensive.
Yep.
The contracts are also on the simple side, so we will get it audited if they see significant usage. So if it does gain a lot of traction, we'll try to maybe appeal to the Algo Foundation for funding for it. Maybe we'll just pay for it ourselves or something. But this time, I mean, the code's open source too. We'll pay a bug bounty if anybody does find a security flaw in the smart contracts. But again, they're on the simple side,
Yep.
and we've also created over 100 integration tests for the smart contracts. So, you know, security flaws could still happen, but they're very thoroughly tested. So, I think it's pretty safe to use. My own opinion.
Fair enough, and that's of course, a good point that
Yeah.
the entire space has been struggling with the fact that, especially the Algorand ecosystem, that there aren't many auditors that understand, how to audit the contracts, and the ones, since there aren't that many, the ones that do exist can charge, crazy amounts of money, and it
Well,
kind of go
that,
for it.
that too, and they don't always find all the security flaws too. Like
Yeah.
the best way to ensure the most security is to really understand the smart contract language yourself or whoever the person is making it, and then also build tons of integration tests that actually attempt to like issue all the transactions that shouldn't work, basically. So you make a test that verifies every single possible flaw that the smart contract can have.
Yeah, and that's a great point as well because a lot of people see that a project that got audited and they think, all right, cool, this is a safe project to use. But most of the time, all auditors are doing are looking at it to see if there are any blatant flaws they can see, of course, but then also just to see that it's going to do what it says it's going to do, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they found every single flaw or any bug that could happen. So it's basically
Right.
just a second set of eyes to you know show to the public like, hey, this does what I said it's going to
Yeah.
do, and to the best of our knowledge, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So I'm curious though, do you think you could foresee a time in this ecosystem where there are plenty of auditors and the competition between them drives down the prices? Because I actually do know a lot of projects that struggle, as you said, to get that funding to be audited. And as of right now, especially with a lot of scams and rug pulls, it's hard for new projects to get off the ground without having an audit.
Well, it's possible. Anything's possible. I think the issue is that to make an auditing company, you both you both need to be you need people that are experts in the smart contract languages. Plus, um, you need to somehow gain the credibility that people will pay you money to audit things.
Yep.
So there's kind of like a chicken and egg problem there. But it's possible. I don't know how many people are making auditing companies. It's actually a pretty good business idea just based on the amount of cash that they can make. Of course, it's a crypto bear market, so I'm not sure how many new projects are going to be applying for audits, but it's a
Yep.
pretty good space.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, some of the future plans for the Algodex include options and derivatives trading. How far along is that? And when could traders be expecting to use derivative products?
So that's a great question. There's at least one project we know of that's making um, options and derivative products, and that could tie into Algodex. But if not that one, we'd eventually make it on our own.
What
However,
project are you speaking of?
it's called Alg Options,
Okay.
um, and the guy who's making it, it's actually um, he's a friend of one of my college buddies, so I'm kind of connected to him also. But it's a pretty promising project. He actually has a working MVP for it. It's not heavily marketed yet, but um, my one concern there is that I'm not sure if the options uh, would be compliant in the U.S. So it would run into that whole problem again. But it would be extremely cool. And one thing about derivatives is that there's a lot of lending. There's lending like aspects to them. So like if you write an option to someone with an expiration date, depending on the strike price, it actually functions like a loan. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with that too. But I mean, eventually, someone, whether it's us or this person, this project, or another project, someone's going to make options that work with every single Algorand standard asset, and they'll all work on Algodex, assuming that the options are ASAs.
That'll be an exciting yet potentially dangerous time
Yeah.
for some. Um, so the Algodex was, it actually still might be the only DEX that allows NFT trading. But originally, there wasn't much NFT support. It was just, you're able to trade the ASA because it's an ASA. But part of the future plans include better NFT support. Could you speak on what the plans are for that?
Yeah. So basically, just things like it would use the standards, like the ARC standards, I think they're called, that would automatically pull in like the NFT images um, from IPFS or something like that. Just making it easier to know what you're trading. Maybe show you well, I guess the price history would already be there for the NFT, but just pulling in more metadata about the NFT,
Yeah.
and then also having filters so you can say, okay, I only want to trade NFTs. Oh, yeah, that's another thing I forgot to mention. When we open to the US, all NFTs are going to be tradable in the US too. Totally forgot to mention that. This is actually the technical thing that we're working on before we can release it, because we have to be able to identify what's an NFT and what's not an NFT. It's not that hard to do. It's just not done yet on
Yeah.
Algodex. So um, yeah, so over time we're going to improve NFT support, because like you said, Algodex is the only DEX where you can trade NFTs as well as every other ASA.
That's exciting. So, I mean, there's a possibility that really within the next coming days to weeks, the U.S. residents could, use Algodex limited trading with a couple tokens, but full trading with
Yeah,
NFTs. Correct?
exactly. And also, what's cool about it is if you want to buy someone else's NFT, you can place bids for any NFT that exists in Algorand, and then just leave the bids there, and then the NFT owner can come in,
And fill it if they want.
say, oh, that's yeah, just fill it. It's kind of
Wow,
cool.
that is kind of cool because you can kind of start like an almost like an auction that way, where it's
Yeah,
like, oh,
we
there's a
saw we,
bid there.
yeah, we saw that happening before on Algodex, on testnet at least, where people are making NFT auctions.
That's really cool. I think you might be surprised at how much action that gets once it's opened up to U.S. investors. I'm sure a lot of people are excited about that and excited for more support because people love to see the images. I think what Wallet did with adding NFT support and making it so you can like spin the image around and things like that. I think that was a really nice touch, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
On that note, anyone tuning in currently, if you have any questions for myself or Alex, please let us know in the chat. Uh, I certainly appreciate having Alex on. I want to respect the time we have here, but is there anything else, Alex, that we have yet to discuss that you'd like to bring to the attention of anybody watching?
I don't think so. I think we covered pretty much everything.
I do think so as well. Oh, I actually did have one question. I think it ended today. Actually, there was a NFT competition for Algodex. How did that go? Did you get a lot of participation in that?
Um, that's a great question. I believe so. So I'm not the one personally running the NFT competitions. That's Min, our community manager. So I, it's the problem is I'm doing like 30 things at once. So
Yeah.
I don't closely monitor that, but I believe it's going pretty well.
Yep, no, that makes sense completely. And I hope whoever won is happy with their NFT price. Well, Alex, I appreciate coming on the show. I mean, that wraps it up for all the questions I have, and it seems like we've touched every base here, and there are no chats rolling in. So, thanks for being a guest again on the show, of course. And you're welcome back anytime you please. Just send me an email.
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, not a problem. Take care, Alex.
All right. Take care. Bye.
All right, this has been another episode of JT Invests in You. If you like the conversation, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I've got a couple more interviews coming out. I've got an interview with Algogems, interview with PactFi, potentially some interviews with people from the foundation. I don't want to leak any of that yet, but give me a like, give me a subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.